look, you can only increase neuromuscular efficiency a little bit. I mean, most people who are very, very strong got that way by growing in size. All right. Here's a good example. Lasha Talakadze just snatched 223.
That was fucking impressive.
Oh my God!
And he did it matter of factly.
Yeah, it was.
Boom.
That was certainly not a limit
No.
third attempt at all.
Goddamn.
But we don't do limit third attempts at the Olympics. We do third attempts we know we can make at the Olympics, and that's what 646 is all about. And that 265 clean and jerk looked like it was a little more trouble than the snatch, but it certainly was not a struggle. Now, Lasha is 6'6". Is that right?
I think so.
375. This is a big, strong motherfucker, right?
He don't care about abs.
He's not concerned about his abs. He's concerned about 265. But let me point out a couple of things here, all right? The spirit of this question. Pisarenko did 265, probably 1988, at about 100 pounds lighter body weight, about 90 pounds lighter of body weight. It 280, 285, somewhere in there. Pisarenko, that was a man. Now, my God. I mean, guys, that's. And then, once again, here we are, 33 years later, Taranenko did 266 in 1988 at a body weight of probably, what the hell did he weigh at that time? He didn't weigh 375. He probably weighed 315, 320, something like that. He's a great big man, but not as big as Lasha.
What was the year? 88?
88. I think Pisarenko did his 265 in 88 also.
Pisarenko also?
Yes. 265.
Yeah.
So Taranenko did 266
Right.
down there at the Australian meet.
Right.
The
That wasn't at the Olympics.
clean and jerk. No, it was
Yeah.
at an invitational meet down in Australia, back when Australia was not a prison colony, and they were invited to. Australia at this point makes the Soviet gulags look like.
At least the Soviets.
At least they fed you.
And the Soviets weren't pretending to be anything.
No,
else.
they weren't pretending to be,
Right.
Democrats or anything.
Yep. Yeah.
They, so you've got a sport here, and I mentioned this on a previous podcast. You've got a sport here that has not increased the heaviest, the world record. You can monkey around with your goddamn weight classes and invent new weight classes and thus establish new world records and everything. But nobody's done 266 at a meet since 1988. Okay. Now, I don't know what Lasha has done in training. I have been told that Taranenko did 275 in training. Now, in training is going to mean that he was in a different, probably pharmacological situation than he was at that meet that day. And once again, you don't go to Olympic weightlifting meets, if you've got any sense, with the intention of setting a PR. PRs are set in the gym. They're performed at the meet. Now, the story on the Taranenko 266 is that he was offered a bunch of money. He's offered $5,000 if he would successfully break the world record, which at the time was the 265. So he calls for 266, and he does it. It's not beautiful, but it was, got at least 2 white lights. And to this day, no one has repeated 266 at a meet. Okay? The most amazing thing to me about Losh's performance at the Olympics the other day was the snatch. I mean, do you know how long Krostev's 216 was the heaviest thing that had ever been snatched? Oh, like 27, 28 years. That was also set back in the late 80s. And then he comes along and does this 223. What was that, 8 kilos?
Yeah.
And just, bam! Just amazing. An amazing snatch. And he pulled it off the floor with low hips, and, the technique could have been better as far as our analysis of the technique is concerned. But look, it's a snatch. It's half of your deadlift. The technique doesn't matter. What matters is how strong are you? You're real goddamn strong. If you can accelerate 223 kilos high enough to catch it in the snatch rack, that's nothing but strength, okay? Now, 6'6", 375, that's a great big man. So you'd expect him to be real fucking strong. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen with him. If he can manage to stay uninjured, he is probably going to clean and jerk 270. Maybe at the next Worlds. And then finally, after all these years, that record will be broken. But my point, and I made this before, is that the reason that record has stood so fucking long is because Olympic weightlifting coaches just don't know what the hell they're doing. These people are being coached incorrectly in terms of training and in terms of technique. You're being coached incorrectly. And that's why that goddamn thing. Is there another sport that you know of that the record has stood for that long? How long did Beeman's record stand?
The jump is still the Olympic record as of 2000, as of this year.
So that's the only one that anybody can think of, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I guess Beeman's record is still there. Now, he broke the
Olympic,
world
though.
record.
Olympic. There's
Is there
somebody did a 29.4 and a quarter at the 2007 military world games.
Right. 29.4 and a quarter.
And Beeman's was like 27 something.
27, 6.5.
Somebody beat Beeman by 2 feet?
There's another.
I don't know that I believe that.
That's nuts.
Mike
That's,
Powell.
well, see, Beeman, the thing that was nuts about Beeman, if you'll look on there, is how far he beat the record at the time in the broad jump, long jump. I mean, it was like a 2 foot. It was just something happened that day, and they came out and nobody could believe it. They measured it 3 or 4 times.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Beeman's was
29 and 2.5.
Right.
2 and a quarter. So this guy beat him by 2 inches.
All right, I'll buy that.
Yeah, beat him by 2 inches in 91. Carl Lewis, third, is 29 feet 1 inch.
Well, so anyway, Beeman comes along, and he just smashed the shit.
The prior
out of it.
record, he destroyed it.
Destroyed it by, what was it, 2 feet, something like that.
I can't see the prior record on here.
It was some insane thing like that.
Oh, I guess we could just click on his thing. Let's see what it says.
Yeah, it was. So, and Taranenko didn't do that in '88. He put 1 kilo on the world record, but nobody has. I mean, Razazadeh did 264.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, what was that, the 04 Olympics?
Yep.
You know, and that's the closest anybody's been.
Right.
And everybody just seems to just gloss over the fact that the guys that are handling these big, giant-ass heavy weights are real fucking strong. It hadn't got anything to do with their technique. And
they're missing
yet over and over and over again, you hear American Olympic weightlifting coaches say that this is a sport of technique.
Yeah.
Well, it's the most technical sport in the Olympics. It's the most complicated of human movements, and nothing. You know, you spent a lifetime. That's my favorite statement of all time. You know, a lifetime developing perfect technique in the snatch and the clean and jerk. That's the dumbest thing anybody has ever said.
Yeah.
You know,
Outside of the
it's
Americans,
just-
how much have training methods changed? Because it's a lot of it has got to be that the guys who
they're-
in the 80s, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, who were doing Olympic lifting today are doing something else that makes money. Strongman,
yeah, they're
NFL,
you know, selling coffee, whatever. But they've got to be doing something that makes money. But how much has their training changed?
Yeah, how much of training methods
The most
changed?
important development in Olympic weightlifting training over the past 3 or 4 decades has been the development of the Bulgarian method,
Yep.
which finally realizes that if you don't practice at 95% and heavier, then you're not practicing.
Right.
You're not practicing. You have to handle heavy weights because
Right.
heavy weights are mechanically different. They're not just heavier. The movement pattern is mechanically different than light weights.
Yep.
And in contrast to that, American Olympic weightlifting coaches have used this silly shit that Lynn Jones developed about 30 years ago that just has everybody practicing things
Sure.
at 70%. And it,
Sure.
you know,
But here's my point. If let's say Ternenko and Pisarenko are Americans in 2020, what are they doing? They're not fucking Olympic weightlifting. They're in the NFL.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
Right.
making millions of dollars.
right.
Right. So
Yes, where
so-
they ought to be.
So
to use that talent
right.
in a profitable way,
Right.
because if you're a smart person and you can get a job that makes you $10 million a year,
Yep.
and you can keep that job for 2 or 3 or 4 years, then you're set up.
Sure.
And you're a fool if you don't do
Yeah.
that.
So my point is that
Right.
if you have the most gifted athletes in the entire world not going into Olympic weightlifting, then you've got, I mean, not that you don't have a very high level of athlete doing this, but you don't have the highest level of athlete going into that sport.
No.
So it supports your contention here that the training methods should shift. It's not just about doing the partial movements and practicing the movements real heavy. You've got to actually fucking train and get stronger because
Yes.
you don't have the Taranenkos and the Pisarenkos
Right.
getting into the sport.
It depends on who's on your team.
Right.
That's all it's always depended on. If you've got the right people on your team, if you've got 1.5 million Chinese people to assemble a team of 8 men and 7 women, then you can find people that are real strong that you don't have to make any stronger.
Yeah.
You know, and we talked about all the theory on
There was
that.
someone asking on one of the power clips about your opinion on the Chinese and how they are so good, and that was exactly what I commented on. I said they
Just
have
the
1.5
demographics.
billion people and they don't have the NFL. It's that easy.
That's all there is
It's-
to it.
it's that
That's
easy.
all there is to it. Every time you get a nation that is producing outstanding Olympic lifters, this is for the past 30, 40 years, every nation that produces outstanding Olympic lifters has done so without the NFL in their way.